Hello everyone, welcome back. This is going to be a short video to show you how to create a scrolling background effect for your games in P5.js. So the first ingredient we're going to need for this is an image to use as our background. For this example, I'm going to use this PNG file here. I found this on the free game resource site. It's a Creative Commons images. And the important thing to note is that this image has to be created in such a way that the left side will kind of seamlessly loop with the right side, right? If you put them side by side, these two edges will connect. So you have to kind of carefully design your background images so that they can have this infinite scrolling attribute. So you can find those online or create them yourselves. Just have to make sure that both sides of the image align together. Okay. So assuming you have one of these background images to work with, we're going to talk about how we would create the infinite scrolling effect in P5.js. Note that this image I have here, its resolution is not necessarily the full size of the screen. So this is also something we are going to talk about, right? This is actually kind of a small image. It's only 800 by 400 pixels. So we're going to talk about scaling it up to maximize the amount of space that we have to work with on the screen. And then we'll get it to scroll and create that infinite scrolling effect. Okay. So I have a sketch started here. And the first thing we'll do, of course, is we're going to upload this image so that we have access to it in our sketch. Let me drag it over. There we go. So now I have this PNG file. And we're going to create a variable, let's call it background or BG, and we're going to define the preload function. And then in preload, we're going to say BG equals load image desert.png. And of course, you're going to use a different image probably for whatever project you're trying to do. All right. And having done this, we can now say we can draw this image here. I'm going to say BG00. And we should see it appear. Yeah, there it is. All right. So first step is we're going to scale this up so that the height of the image actually matches the height of our window. Okay? And to do this, we're going to do a little bit of math. So we're going to create two variables here. I'm going to call these BG width and BG height. And this is going to allow me to create different dimensions than the ones that are actually part of this image. So currently bg.width is going to be 800 and bg.height is going to be 400. So I want to scale this up here a little bit just to fill the amount of space I have available. So we're going to calculate this in setup. So first we're going to say, let's set the height of our background. We want this to be the height of our window. So I'm going to put this here. And the trick is going to become figuring out what is the correct width, right, for this image so that we maintain the proportion. Okay? So this is an easy bit of math. So all we're going to have to do is say, okay, let's figure out the ratio of width to height for the original image. So that would be background.width divided by background.height. Okay? So this ratio is the ratio of width to height for this original image that we have. So if we set the new height to be BG height, we're going to simply calculate the background width to be the new height multiplied by this ratio. Okay? So this is going to scale the width of the image proportionally to this new height that we decided on. So in this case of this image, the ratio is 2 to 1, right? So if we set the height to be whatever the height of the window is, this is going to end up multiplying by 2. Okay? And let's test it out. We're going to, in addition to drawing at 0, 0, we're going to also specify a new size. So we'll say, draw this image using BG width and BG height. Okay? All right, so now it's taking up some space here, and we don't see the entire background, but this is fine. The intention and is for me to have this background scroll anyway. Okay? I notice I didn't put in window resized here. If you wanted to add window resize, you would have to remember to also redo this calculation every time you resize the window. But for this example, we're going to leave that alone. All right, so how do we get this background to scroll? Well, fairly easy. We just have to change its x coordinate. For instance, I could get this background to move to the right. Let's put a black background here to begin with. If I change its x coordinate, right? If I put in mouse x here, I can move this image by changing its x coordinate. Similarly, if I wanted to move to the left, this would have to become a negative number, right? Now I can move to the left. So we could animate this right? Like anything else in our code, to create animation, we create variables, right? We attach them to things like positions or sizes, and then we change these variables over time. So let's do this for a background. We're going to create a variable called bgx for background x. And here we're going to use this variable to set the x coordinate of the background. And then to animate this, we're simply going to change it over time. It could be as easy as subtracting 1 from this. Okay. Now this is kind of a little bit slow, so let's speed it up a bit here so we're not here all day. I'm going to subtract 5, so that number basically becomes the speed at which the background is scrolling. Okay. So we can see BGX here is moving, and our image is being kind of swiped across the screen to the left. Eventually we're going to run out of image, of course, so this is where we need to this image. When it exits the screen on the left, we would like it to start over, right? To start over on the right side so that we can have a fresh start and have the image constantly cycle through. So we're going to keep an eye on BGX, and we'll say if BGX ever gets less than negative, right? Negative the width of the image, then we know the image has disappeared from the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it back to 0. Okay? So let's see what that looks like. So as soon as BGX exceeds negative the width, right, we're going to make it pop back to 0. Now, the trick to creating the infinite scrolling background effect, right, because this looks weird when the image just kind of pops back up, is that we're going to draw the image twice. In order to fill the void that we have here when the image goes away, we're simply going to take our background image and we're going to draw it again, except this time we're going to offset it, right, so that its x-coordinate starts at the right edge of the first background image. So this is very easy to do. We're going to say image background. We're going to just draw it again, except this time we're going to draw that second one at bgx plus bg width. We're going to add the width of the image, right, so that it's right next to the first one, and also y equals 0, and draw it the same size as the first one. So we're going to simply draw our background twice. And if we do this, now it's very seamless. Okay? We cannot see the gap. Okay, let me highlight the gap here by adding a +2. Just normally you wouldn't do that, but just so that you can visualize, you can see where this gap is going to be occurring. See, there's the gap. So we have two images that we are scrolling together side by side, right? And when we get too far to the left, we simply just jump back to the right. And because our images are designed in such a way that the left and the right connect, then we get this infinite scrolling background effect. Let's get rid of this gap because we actually don't want it. And so this is going to create the illusion that this background is scrolling forever, when in fact all we do is we kind of just go back to the right over and over, and we can't tell because the images loop. Okay. Of course, you would do the same idea if you wanted to have a vertical scrolling background, except this you would animate the y coordinate instead of your image, right? And you would probably have an image that's tall enough that you can fill the entire height of the window while still having enough width. So that's it for this tutorial. Kind of a simple little concept, but useful nonetheless if you want to create animated backgrounds for your games. All right, take care. I'll see you in the next one.